Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Under Hood Show. My name is Josh Profit. I'm the service director here at Mel Hambelton Ford. Alongside me this morning, I have Scotty Gurman. Good morning, Scotty.
Good morning. How's everybody doing?
Doing absolutely fabulous. It has been a long week. Got a lot of great things to talk about. We've done a lot of different things here at the dealership this week. You know, it seems like you get into the summer months, and you don't. You start in on Monday and you wonder where the rest of the days of the week went because you're back to Friday in no time for sure. And so I got a lot I want to talk about. I know you got a lot that you want to talk about as well. And so, but this is a call-in show, so maybe we don't get to talk about anything we want to talk about, exactly. And the people listening get to decide what our topic of conversation is. So it is a call-in show. 316-462 3673. That's the number to jump on the air here. You want to talk about anything automotive, new vehicle products. You want to talk about maintenance, oil change, check engine lights, brake intervals. Got something going on with your vehicle, not quite sure what's going on with it. Give us a call and we'll see if we can help you, get you guided in the right direction. Been known to throw a diagnostic on occasionally if we can't figure out, or point you in the right direction over the phone. So, but for each and every caller that calls into the show, it's the only show I know you get paid to call in, but we're going to send you out a package. It's going to consist of the works, which is an oil change and tire rotation. We use Motorcraft oil and filter products here at Mel Hambelton Ford. While we're performing that, we're also going to complete a multi-point inspection on your vehicle, checking over the brakes, tires, steering, suspension, all the safety-related components, just making sure that vehicle's good to go for that next 5,000 miles of driving. You'll also receive yourself $10 to Mel's Diner, so you can get yourself something to eat and drink while you're here with us at the Big Corner. Complete nitrogen for your tires, so you get all the great benefits that nitrogen has to offer. And then CF5, a BG products package, which consists of a can of CF5 for your fuel system, and then MOA for your engine oil. Again, just getting that vehicle geared up and ready to go with that for that next 5,000 miles of driving. So let's get the phones ringing. 316-462-3673. Scotty, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah. So
happy to be here.
How let's talk about this last week, because like I said, I think on your list there's a lot on your list, a lot on my list, and just kind of do a recap.
Well, first things first, I think that it's been quite wet over the last couple of weeks, really. And so in the shop, we have had quite a few vehicles coming in on tow trucks for folks that are driving through water. Not saying that it's the worst in the world, but Wichita doesn't necessarily have the best flood system to get drainage system. So we've had quite a few vehicles that try to drive through pretty high water. And I know me personally, I've got I've got several of them. So, and I try to deter people from doing that as much as I possibly can. If you think you can make it, you may not. And so it's very, very important to try to avoid it at all costs, because right now there's several vehicles that are not doing so hot right now, to be honest with you. So try to avoid water at all costs. I mean, I know we're getting into the really, really hot months, the rainy months and stuff like that. And so at any cost where you can avoid driving through it, please try to avoid it, because it can get you in some trouble.
Well, and the biggest thing is, is it the type of water, or when it flash floods like that, we get several inches, in a pretty short amount of time. It's not at a point that it's necessarily dangerous. In other words, like, it's not going to float your car down the river like you see on TV. But the problem is it's going to be expensive.
Yes, exactly.
From that side of it is that, if that vehicle happens to suck up water, it's almost a certainty. I can think of one particular situation where a gentleman drove through high water that it did not throw a rod or damage the engine. We were able to put a timing belt on it, and he was good to go after that, which is just a complete rarity. And like I said, it just gets expensive from that side. So
100%.
And then the other side of it is that, whenever you're in the water and it does stall out or hydrolock, now you have a vehicle sitting in water. And so you have all that water getting in the interior. soaking the carpet, and then there's all sorts of wiring harnesses that run under the carpets and floorboards and modules and airbags, and I mean it's just on and on and on from there, and it's just not a good thing.
Yeah,
there's no good outcome from that.
Yeah,
So.
Because now you got modules now, vehicles with so many modules, and so it's one of those things. If you're in water and it starts corroding those, that's when you're going to have some more problems too.
Down the road.
Yeah.
We've got a call on the line. Let's go to the phones. Let's talk to Vincent. Vincent, you're on live with Under the Hood. Go ahead.
How you doing?
We're doing.
I have a question.
Okay.
I have a question. I just bought tires for my wife's 2011 Ford Edge 2 weeks ago, and she has a warning light coming on that says something about her traction control, and I don't know how to adjust that. Or if it's something that has to be computerized.
Yeah. So is it service traction control, or do you know exactly what the message is?
It's a yellow light. It just says service traction control.
Yeah. Okay. So that is actually indicating that there is some sort of fault in the system itself. And when you say you just bought tires, was it one tire? Was it all four tires?
All four.
All four tires. All four. Okay. And then the other question I would have is, so as far as trying to relate the light to the tires would be difficult unless for some reason, there was maybe something damaged in removal and installation as far as like a wheel speed sensor or something along those lines. The other thing I would say is maybe if it was the wrong size installed, the best thing to do.
No, it's the same size.
Okay. Yeah, I would want to check the door placard. But if there was a different size circumference, maybe a tires, and it was looking for something different there. But really trying to relate the light, I've seen a lot of weird things in this industry, and so I'm not going to say that we couldn't get there, but I really don't think it would be hard to make that connection that the tires are what caused the light to come on. I think it might just be
it came on one other time before I got the tires.
Before you got them.
But it was, but that was like a year ago.
Yeah. And so on the traction control side of things, or what could cause that light to come on, there's a lot of different things. I can think of wheel speed sensors, so it's monitoring wheel speed sensors at every wheel. The other thing is there's like yaw sensors in there. There's a steering angle position sensor. There's modules. There's harnesses. So there's a lot of different things that it could be from that side. And so what needs to happen is need to go through a flow chart. And so basically, first of all, we're going to scan it for codes, see exactly what's in there and what the light's trying to tell us, and then go through a diagnostic tree for that specific code, having us check those various sensors and harnesses and stuff like that to come up with the fault. So, but what I'd like to do, we'll throw a diagnostic onto your package, Vincent, and take a look at that at no charge to you, and see just exactly what's wrong with that thing. Okay.
All righty.
Perfect. Well, we'll get that mailed out to you and get that traction control light squared away. Now, the one thing that I will say is, obviously, in normal, driving conditions, it's probably not that big a deal. But if you're in rain or you're in inclement weather, or you're in a position where you would need the traction control with that light on, it's not working. And so again, just day-to-day operations, it's okay, but then when you need it, it's not there. So we'll get that diagnostic added onto it and get you squared away, see what's going on with that thing. Okay.
All righty. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Vincent.
Thanks for the call. All right. 316-462-3673. That's a number to dial up here and ask anything automotive, or like I said, if you got something check engine light or something you're not quite sure of, and we'll maybe throw on a diagnostic package onto that as well. So 316-462-3673. So after we took the call from Vincent, we were talking about all the moisture that we've had here last week and what that's done as far as the business and the influx of business that we typically see of people driving through those waters or higher waters. And, I can think of all sorts of outcomes, to complete engine replacements, to having to pull interiors out of cars and dry everything out from there. Transmissions, I've seen troubles, on that side of things as well.
Yeah, and they don't always even have to be driving through it. I mean, even if the vehicle's not even driving through it and just sitting in water, a lot of these transmissions and differentials and things like that have vents in the top of them in order for them to allow, whatever out. Well, now it's going to be sitting in water, which is going to allow water in. So even if you're not driving through water, if it's standing or it's in quite a bit of water, it could potentially damage without even driving the vehicle as well.
Have trouble with that for sure. So I got a couple people this morning on the chat side. So good morning, Delbert. How are you? And then Jason writes in, good morning, guys. Question. Does the F-150 Lightning come in a 4x4 package? And yes, it does. That is an option for that pickup. And, that's one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about. Scotty, you live roughly mileage from the dealership, 5 miles?
Yeah, maybe
5 miles. Yeah. And I'm I think it's about 32, 35 miles for me to the dealership. And I was going to challenge you to how much fuel you think in your 5-mile journey yesterday. I can guarantee you I used less.
Really?
Yes.
Because you drove the Lightning home?
I did. So we were out at Kansas International Dragway last night, had a wonderful event out there. It was Beat the Heat, which I was going to circle back and kind of talk about that. But in doing that, we got our first Lightning in. It's the Lightning Pro. So it's the base model entry level Lightning.
Yep.
And we took it out to the track to show it off out there, and then I drove it. So I drove it from here to 61st or 63rd Street, and kind of between Tyler and Ridge out to Kansas International Dragway, and then I'm going to say while I was at the track, I had to make a couple passes.
Of course you did. Yeah.
So it went down the track a couple of different times. Then I drove it from the track to Haven, where I live, and then back here this morning. And I tell you, it was just the experience. It was really cool.
Yeah.
It was really cool. I'm not going to lie. But when I left here, heading out to Kansas International Dragway, the range on it said 183. And I drove from here to, it was about just past 53rd Street and Mays Road. And it was 182 was the range when I got to there, which was 1 mile difference. So the regenerative braking that it did throughout the stops through town, I was blown away. I was just blown away by that. Now, obviously going down the drag strip and going driving it on the highway, it didn't have the opportunity to do the regenerative braking, but I was able to make that journey. I was going to calculate up the miles, and but everybody's concerned about the range on these things, and I get it. And I was watching it too, because I was like, man, I'm going a little bit of a distance, and I was very curious as to how accurate the range was going to be. And I was very impressed with how it did. I was more impressed with how it did in the city with the regenerative braking and things like that.
Yeah. Not to mention it looks cool.
It is. Yeah, it does look cool. I'm excited to see a one with more options. This has no options, but when I say no options, I mean, it's a nice truck. Yeah. It's got bucket seats. There's a console in it. It's got a big nav screen in it. It's there's a lot of things that this has that it's just stock. It's got dual auto climate control from that side, leather interior, and the other thing, it's a full-size F-150 truck, and the sticker on it is 39 somewhere. 39,000 something, and then there's like $1,000 destination fee on it, and that's for a full-size F-150.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. So I think that it's something, if once we are able to get inventory and get going on that, it's going to be a huge hit, a huge success for sure. And they'll be working on the range deal and getting that to where these things are going further and further. And they'll also be working on the charging infrastructure. You're going to see much more of that. But just absolutely impressed with how that worked. And then so we got up to the drag strip, and again, it was our annual event for the Beat the Heat, and last year it was a pretty short notice on that, and so we didn't have a whole lot of participation from the police department as far as actually being able to run police cars down the track. This year was much greater. Last year it was a blowout. Every police officer that got called out or lost, and so it was a little bit of a disadvantage for those guys. But this year, I'm proud to report they did much better. It was almost an even battle from that side of it. So they did get beat a couple different times. We had an ace up our sleeve. They were in the Mustang. We put some decals and some lights and stuff like that on it, and the Officer Cruz was mainly running the Mustang, the 21 Mustang that we put the turbo on and all that stuff. And it was just a really good time. It was a really good community event. And for those guys to be able to get out there and interact with the people in that environment, it couldn't have went any better from that side of things. And a lot of fun, a lot of racing. We ended up the night ended well for us anyways. It was pretty late. I'm going to say 11:30 or so, and had oil down the track on one side. And so that kind of put a little bit of a damper on it, but they had the cleanup crew on it and were working diligently on it to get it cleaned up and opened back up. And so, and we had one of them was the EV race. So it was the Lightning truck and the GT Mustang, stands. And so, I'm not really proud to say that I lost in the Lightning truck, but I think the main reason I lost in the Lightning truck, I freaking fell asleep at the light. I was literally like, I had somebody riding with me, and we're going through there, and I staged, and Stan was pulling up to stage, and it was taking him a little while. So the guy that was riding with me said, "Man, is there like some sort of sport mode in this or anything?" And I didn't even think about it pulling up there, but I was like, "Oh yeah, I bet there is." So we're going through the dash trying to figure out how to get it into sport mode. And Stan staged, and the light turned green, and he took off, and I'm still sitting there. And so, but it was a lot of fun. And I tell you, the EV side of things, the instant torque that those things, like, I've drove a lot of different cars, a lot of different high-end cars, performance cars and stuff like that. And there is just nothing that replaces that instant torque that the EV vehicles provide you. It's really throws you back in your seat, and, it's impressive. And it doesn't matter whether it's off the line or at 20 or 30 or 40, it's there every time. So, but it was a lot of fun. We had a great time. It was a great event. And, we're looking forward, I'm sure, to make it bigger and better next year.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Well, so.
And the more EV vehicles or the electronic vehicles that are going to be coming out, they're going to be improvements on those and things like that. But yeah, that's kind of what I've heard from anybody that drives an electric vehicle is the immediate response of once you start accelerating, there's no delay, that the engine doesn't have to receive a whole bunch of fuel, and so there's no drag time or delay time before that response just throws you back into the seat. So it's different, but it's fun.
A lot of fun for sure. So, but we did get our first Lightning. So, I encourage all the listeners, come on out. It's this one's going into our courtesy transportation program, and so it's here to be a demo for that side of things. And so encourage everybody to come out and look at it, take it for a test drive, and see the tech that they put in this truck. That's a base level. It's just impressive. It's just really impressive. So you definitely have to come out and check it out and take a look at it for sure. So with that being said, what else you got on your list over there?
Man, it's getting ready to get hot.
It is.
It is getting ready to get hot. Just this weekend, I know I'm seeing temperatures, at least in the Midwest, over the hundreds. So that means that we are probably going to be seeing a lot of folks wanting to get their AC system serviced, which is extremely important, especially when you're coming up weather like this. When it gets this hot, those AC systems are working so hard to try to keep the interior of the vehicle as cool as humanly possible, as comfortable for you. So definitely don't hang your hat on that. If it's been a while since it's been serviced, I cannot encourage you enough. Servicing the AC system, our technicians do a lot to check and make sure that you do not have any problems while it's being serviced. But yeah, don't get hung out to dry. The more often that you service the AC system, the less chances likely that you're going to have some problems with some failed components and things like that. And especially when it's getting ready to get this hot, you do not want to be driving around with a vehicle that's blowing hot air
that doesn't have AC. Yeah,
that's right. Windows down, 65 AC system.
The last couple, well, like last night at the track, and then even today, that seems like the humidity is just
it's bad.
Is bad after all the moisture, which I get that. But yeah, definitely it's time of the year for AC system, and it is. That's something that's a preventative maintenance item.
Yes,
and a lot of consumers, again, just kind of drive it until it's not working, and there is, I guess I want to say, consequences for that.
Yeah.
If you do good preventative maintenance on it, it's going to last so much longer. There is oil inside of that AC system, as well as refrigerant, and to be able to service that and get the right proper amount of refrigerant in there and the right oil in there makes all the difference in the world in the longevity of the operation of that AC system. And then also, I mean, when it's 100 degrees out and the interiors of these cars, a lot of them are black, or whether they are or not, the interior temperature sitting out in the sun, they can reach very high temperatures, and it makes a huge difference when you're cooling something at 50-degree air versus 35-degree air,
right.
36-degree air, as far as the recovery time and how quick it's able to cool that cabin down, but then also just the feel, the humidity. It's the humidity that really makes it uncomfortable from that side of things. And so if the AC system's not performing like it should be, it may be blowing cooler temperatures, but it's still unable to get that humidity out of the cabin like it needs to.
And in the diagnosis side of it, the nice thing about whenever we do an AC service or something like that, especially when somebody comes in saying, my AC system is blowing hot air, well, chances are when it's doing that, you've got some kind of leak coming from someplace, most likely. And so whenever we do our AC service, we actually have dye in that system, so where if it does have a leak, and our machines do test for leaks, there's a leak test that it does, and if it passes the leak test, it doesn't necessarily mean that there's not one. It's just too small to be able to find by that machine. But whenever we put that dye in there, let's say in a couple of months or the next year, in a lot of cases, it starts blowing hot again. Well, that dye will really help a technician find where it could possibly be leaking and try to help you and obviously get it fixed where it never happens again. But it's nice that we do that because that helps with the diagnosis side of it. And our guys are very good at doing that. So
yeah, the important part of the, like you said, is the dye, but then having the right amount of Freon in that allows it to pick up that oil and run it through the system while it's operating and lubricate all those components. If it doesn't have the Freon to move the oil, then you're not lubricating the components properly, and you end up with premature wear from that side of things. And obviously, it's not as cool as you'd like it to be, be as well. And that's a big thing. Years ago, way back in R12, I mean, these systems would take literally 3-4 pounds of refrigerant, and then the manufacturers moved to 134A for the environment, but the cooling, the characteristics of those are so much different, and then the amount of Freon was so much different. I mean, 134A systems, of course, again, years ago, they were 2.5 pounds, maybe was a pretty large system, and now, I mean, we're down to, you can get 134A systems with a pound, a little over a pound in it. And that's complete AC systems. And then now they've moved to this 1234YF refrigerant, which is becoming more and more common across all manufacturers. Dodge was kind of one of the first ones in it. Ford was first ones in it. There was some Cadillacs and imports that used it. But again, even less refrigerant than 134A. And so it just doesn't take much for that system to have a and it's not even necessarily a leak that you have, but there's rubber hoses in the system, and they're permeable, and it just escapes through that naturally.
Right.
And so to be able to charge it up and get it to exactly where it's at, it makes all the difference in the world.
Absolutely. Stay cool. Stay as cool as you can.
Yeah, that's one thing. So I don't know. My days are all running together here. I'd lost power at the house one night or one morning because a storm went through and knocked down some power lines, some trees and some power lines. And, sitting in bed trying to go to sleep at like 3 or 4 in the morning when there's no AC, no fan, like and it really wasn't even bad. It's just, it's just what you realize maybe how spoiled you are, or how accustomed you've become of that.
That
for sure.
Muggy feeling,
just everything's sticky.
Yeah,
so
out.
Yep. Stay cool is right for sure. So
well, another exciting thing for me, I'm sure if some of our listeners have been to the dealership, they've seen me, and they have seen me now for 10 years. I am coming up on my 10-year anniversary at this dealership, and we had kind of a celebration a couple of months ago, which had actually meant kind of a lot to me. It was the entire service department that was coming together, doing like a celebration at the end of the month that we try to do as often as we can. But it was so cool to be able to see how many people have been here for more than 6 and 7 years.
Yeah.
We have a very long-term stay. All of our employees here. We don't have a lot of turnaround. It was just so cool to see how many people, even management, but even some of the newer guys, you could just kind of see their face like, oh my God, these people have been here forever.
Yeah.
And that said a lot about the place to me. So not to toot your horn or anything, but
no, and that's I think that's a lot of where a lot of our success comes from.
Yeah.
Is the sense that we have a good solid group of employees from that side, and it's showing appreciation to the employees, which Lisa does a great job of doing that from that side of things. But then also, I really do feel that all of our employees want to be here, and it's not just a job. From that side. And so it makes all the difference in the world when that's the mentality from behind it. But, the other side of this is the unfortunate thing is in this industry, you don't really see that. And so it's kind of an anomaly of what we have here in regards to, length of time or employee. When you come in as a customer, and you see the same faces every time, it makes all the difference in the world. As opposed to every time you come in, you're dealing with somebody new or they're new in the industry and, don't really know what's going on, because you can't put a price on experience as far as tools and training and things like that. All of that stuff is important, but the amount of experience that these technicians gain, your advisors, management on, how to help somebody, it makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, the mindset, the goal is always to help the customer. I mean, every single one of us that have been here, I was shocked. I'm kind of in the middle. I've been here for 10 years, and I'm actually kind of in the middle to some of these people. Some of these people have been here since the store was on Broadway, and that's just crazy. But you're exactly right. In this industry, there's quite a bit of turnaround in other places, but this is an anomaly. This is a different place, and we kind of look at each other more of like a family than we do. I mean, where we spend a lot of time here. It kind of is that way, but it was just really impressive, and it was pretty cool. But that's definitely a pro for this place, and I love it. So
well, congratulations on the 10 years, and here's to the next 10.
Got another 10 of me
from that side for sure. So one of the other things that we did this week, again, let's get the phones ringing. 316-462-3673. Scotty and I have we've talked about stuff we wanted to talk about. What do you want to talk about? Come on, 316-462-3673. That's a number to jump on the air here, and let's talk automotive, whatever that might be. So congratulations to, I meant to say, so Jake won last night.
Nice.
In Salina up there. Not sure of all the details on that side of things, but sounds like it was a pretty interesting finish from that side. But got a victory up in Salina. So congratulations to the 3J team in doing that. And then one of the other things that I wanted to talk about was this week we got to do some training with Hunter for ADAS, which is Advanced Driver Assist Systems.
Okay.
Is what that stands for. It's a fancy word for maybe safety systems.
Okay.
I guess, or a fancy abbreviation for safety systems. But as these vehicles, evolve and they're trying to make them safer and safer for consumers, and they are. You think of something that was even just 2 or 3 years ago versus where it is now, and then I think 10 years compared to where it is now, and I think of and the ADAS stuff. They have basically there's 7 different levels of driver assistance.
Okay.
And so you think of the basic of systems all the way up to a completely autonomous driving vehicle that requires nobody in it.
That's so crazy to me.
Would be a number 7. And honestly, what amazes me is we're in about stage number 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Amongst all the manufacturers in doing that. And then the other thing that kind of blew me away is going over some of the other competitive vehicles such as Tesla and all these other guys. I mean, they're really, Ford is kind of leading the industry, and that's a lot of what we found out. And this is Hunter coming in here and doing this, so it's not Ford Motor Company. It's not Hunter works very closely with all the manufacturers in regards to the sensors and angles and alignments and all the programming that goes into all this equipment. So again, so that it can be recalibrated and they can train on it and have the equipment to align it and things like that. And so when they came in and we got to pick kind of vehicles at random to program these systems, and it was everywhere from front cameras to the reverse camera when you put it on and it has the lines on the camera as to where the vehicle's going to go. That's all part of those are calibrated to the 360-degree view cameras, to the lane keeping side of things. There's a lot of sensors on these things. Night vision, there's some manufacturers out there that have night vision, and then you have radar for the lane keeping, or the adaptive cruise control is another thing. So there's just a ton of advanced systems that are going on these vehicles, and it starts years ago as basic as cruise control. Just basic cruise control or anti-lock brakes, or something that now is a standard option and you wouldn't think anything about it. But years ago, I mean, you paid more for it, and it was not something that not everybody had. So it was very eye-opening for sure to go through this this course with them. And we had I brought Hunter in here, and it wasn't a mandatory class for the technicians, but also they understand that this is where it's going. I've got to be in on this because this is what I'm going to be working on tomorrow. Type deal. And so, pretty much every technician was involved in it in some capacity or shape or form, which was very impressive. And we spent 3 evenings over there. The first night, we just kind of went through all the book stuff from that side of things. And then night 2, we did front cameras, the like adaptive cruise control or the front radar. And then night 3 was like the lane sensing and the 360-degree camera portion of it. And to program some of this stuff, I mean, it was crazy. They have you come out and measure. You got to find the center line of the vehicle, and then you're
Oh,
measuring out,
God.
and then we're actually taping grids down on the floor with tape and stuff like that. And so I just couldn't believe all that stuff that you talk about in high school that you think I'm never going to use that, and that's something that is never going to be applicable. And they had up on the board the X and the Y equals Z and everything. I mean, it was just unbelievable. I guess coming right back. And there was some guys that were like, whoa, and then there was some guys that got it.
Yeah.
And really, once we did it a couple times, everybody was like, okay, yeah, this is super simple. But the blank look that I was getting on a couple guys to begin with was
that's funny.
Was very interesting for sure.
Well,
But
and a lot of people don't know. I mean, whenever you, especially with newer vehicles now, especially vehicles that have front cameras anymore, there's almost the closer that we get, almost it's going to eventually be a requirement for a standard. The newer vehicles, it's going to more and more of them that's going to be a standard thing, is going to be a front camera to be able to detect anything in front of you, adaptive cruise control, be able to see, I mean, realistically, even be able to stop the vehicle. My vehicle does have that, but whenever you get a windshield crack or something that's obstructing that camera, that will make it freak out sometimes, because it will think that there's something in front of it. So now that we have we're installing these new windshields, that was where it first started coming up with me, as I started having more and more vehicles for our used vehicles that we sell. We install new windshields, and then we have to calibrate them, and not just Fords, but any make and models, we have to recalibrate those things. And so that was my first, hey, this thing's coming, get ready for it kind of thing. But it is really important, and that's pretty cool. Especially you get to use your the math that you learned in 6th grade that you're never going to use again. That's pretty good.
So the whole it is coming comment. I think it's 2023. All vehicles have to have front and rear facing cameras.
Yep.
Which is, I mean, that's literally right around the corner. And then by 2027. There's another side of that as far as like lane keeping and 360 and stuff like that that's required. So again, it is making them much safer, and it is a huge benefit to the consumer from that side of things. But there is, again, preventative maintenance that goes along with that to ensure that is working properly. So one of the other things, a demo that we did, and I'm actually going to do this, I want to tape it out on the service drive, but they had a scenario that camera was off 1/10 of a degree. And you think, well, 1/10 of the degree, that's not a lot as far as measurement wise.
No.
That's next to nothing. But then you amplify that so it was a front radar.
Mm-hmm.
You amplify that to where it was reading. So it was reading approximately about 500 foot in front of the vehicle. And so we laid it out and put a car 500 foot in front of it, and where the car would be centered in that camera, it was only getting about a quarter of one side of the car. So you're getting 3/4 of the lane next to it and a quarter of the back of the bumper of the car, and then 3/4 of it was completely exposed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the vehicle would have thought that car would have been.
Right.
And so you think about it from that side of things. If it's doing collision avoidance and things like that, I mean, it would have hit it.
Yeah,
it would have straight up hit it.
Yeah.
And then the whole time you're thinking, well, this system isn't working. Well, the system was working fine. It just wasn't calibrated.
Correct.
And how does it get out of calibration? Well, if you've hit anything, if a component's ever removed or removed and then reinstalled, or removed or replaced, the other thing is just suspension settling.
True.
There's a lot of these just regular 4-wheel alignments. That's part of the alignment, is to recalibrate some of that stuff. Because if you're adjusting, any of that stuff, it's going to change it as well. Like you said, rock chips in the windshield are another thing, or
K-tags.
K-tags. Delamination from the windshield is another thing.
Yep.
It's not something that we see a lot, but it is something that could definitely cause an issue.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But it was very interesting. Hunter did a great job of coming in and training us on that, and so it's definitely something that is we're all in on from that side of things, and we just want to make sure that what we're providing to the consumer is the right thing for them. And when it comes to safety, I don't believe you can be too overcautious on that.
Right.
Make sure that you're doing the right thing, and definitely their equipment and stuff like that will enable us to better take care of the customers for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. 100%. And that's what we're here for, man. Any kind of issues that you do have, that's what we're here to fix. But yeah.
Let's get the phones ringing. 316-462-3673. That's the number to jump on the air here with us, and let's talk anything automotive. I've got a text up next, and it says, question you can talk about. My wife asked me last night, with gas prices, how they are, and premium is cheaper than regular, is it safe to run premium in a car that takes regular unleaded?
Ooh.
So my answer to that is no, because what you're doing there is anytime you change or run the octane different than what the vehicle is specified for, you're going to create soot. So you're getting unburned fuel in the engine that will put contaminants throughout the engine, whether it's on the valves, up in the intake portion of it, or on the pistons, and that's one of the most common things that I probably hear from customers is, my vehicle, it just didn't really feel like it was running right. And so the next time I fill up, I've filled up with premium fuel.
Yeah.
Thinking I'm going to give it a shot in the arm,
right,
or a boost. And that is so far away from what you really need to do, because all you're going to do is make things worse.
Yes.
In doing that. And fuel prices, that's one of the other things that I wanted to talk about today as well, because they are getting up there, and definitely the consumers are noticing that, and that's on their mind when they bring their vehicles in for service, and they're asking more questions about fuel economy, and everybody associates that with either fuel injection service typically, or fuel injection services, or spark plugs, like tune-ups from that side of things is a lot of times I think what that's
but the little
mainly associated with. But that's where I wanted to go with this. Is there's so many things that affect fuel economy, and why don't you kind of give me your list, and then I'll follow up with that.
There's tons. There's tons. I mean, just the little things will improve your fuel economy. Number one is having the correct inflation in your tires. That's less resistance. You're using less fuel. The vehicles are designed to have that particular PSI in those tires for a reason. You've got, tons of things. I mean, just regular keeping service. Alignments is another one. If you're pulling to one particular direction, or if the tire is not making full contact the way that it's designed, you're making more resistance, which makes the engine work harder, make it use more fuel. Little things like that go a lot further than you really do. That's why we use nitrogen in the tires. The magic of nitrogen is mainly for not having to monitor your tire pressures as often, because it doesn't change in temperature. That's the big deal. It doesn't change as much. I shouldn't say it doesn't change.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, those very little things that you can do to make your vehicle run more efficient, makes you use less fuel. It's the little things that you don't really think about.
I would say that probably inflation of tires is, I don't know, is that I'd say maybe the number one overlooked thing.
Sure.
But people tend to walk around the car, yep, got air, good to go, unless it's extreme one way or the other. But honestly, it makes a huge difference, just a couple of pounds one way or the other, not only in fuel economy, but the wear on the tire and the longevity of that tire. And so that's something that we do on each maintenance, is inflate the tires to where they need to be. You talked about nitrogen, and that's something that we haven't discussed in quite a while, but there's a huge benefit on the nitrogen side of things, just especially with all the temperature differences and things that we have in our
Kansas.
climate. But it is something. Nitrogen does keep a consistent pressure, or more consistent pressure, over those temperature differences as opposed to compressed air. You may, on a hot day, or a real cold day, you may literally lose 5 or 6 pounds between that car sitting and then driving on the highway and getting up to operating temperature. There may be a 5 or 6 pound swing in those tires from that side of things, and that's huge when it comes to fuel economy. And so, yeah, definitely, if you're pulling up to the pumps, you need to be using what that vehicle calls for. The other thing is E85. If a vehicle can run E85, great, but don't run it because it's cheaper.
Yeah.
That will only cost you more headache in the long run. And yeah, your vehicle may run on it, and I can assure you're not going to have the same performance characteristics on it, but you may not notice a difference, but long term, it's going to have an effect on it.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I've even seen times where people do something like that. They put a different fuel in, and it ends up setting a check engine light.
Yeah. So there's a lot of so that would depend upon a couple of different things. One, if it's E85 equipped, you basically have to add so much fuel into the vehicle for it to say, hey, I need to be recalibrated. So if you go down and you put a couple bucks in, or you know what I'm saying, it's not recalibrating that fuel sample because the fuel didn't change. The fuel level quantity didn't change enough for it to say to recalibrate. And so it could be unsquared away there. And then the other side of it is, if it doesn't take E85 at all, there could be some timing issues and drivability issues that would manufacture a check engine light that would need to be looked at.
Right.
So, but yeah, definitely good question from that side of things as well. And while we're talking about fuel economy, I would say honestly the easiest service and probably the most cost efficient and expense wise service for fuel economy, as far as bang for the buck, I would say the GDI service by far. And what that is, BG has a product out, and we have it provided here at the dealership, but it's a GDI service. And basically it's somebody explained it to me the other day as a shampoo and a conditioner.
Nice.
And I think that's the best way to do it, is that, you're using the shampoo before you change the oil to go in and degrease, everything and get the sludge out. But and then at the end we use the MOA for a conditioner type situation to keep it squared away. But that compression restoration, or the GDI kit, is all these vehicles have very low tension rings, as opposed to years ago we had very high tension rings. And so it does not take a lot of sludge or buildup to get those rings stuck, or to where they're not sealing against the cylinder walls. Well, if they're not sealing against the cylinder walls, then you're losing compression. Compression's power, compression's fuel economy, compression's a lot of different things. But if it can't do that, then it's creating problems. And so for consumers, this happens slowly over time, and so you may not notice a degradation in power or performance or any of that stuff. But it's there. And the BG has got a lot of research and study over this happening at pretty early stages. 10, 15,000 miles from that side of things. And so that GDI service is definitely, I think, bang for the buck on fuel economy, probably one of the best services to do.
GDI and obviously with our services always come with a tire rotation to help inflate your tires. And the GDI service, if I remember correctly, is part of our oil change that actually includes that whole service. And that's why we do it.
Yeah. And that's something that we honor. You know, what I say is about every third service, as far as when you're changing oil. There are consumers or customers that I have that I'll collect their vehicle, or they come in, and it's just a bad habit of mine. I don't know if I'll ever break it. Even getting out of the industry, I don't know if I'll ever break it. But I get in a vehicle, I look at the odometer, and I look up at the oil change sticker. It's just it's just embedded in me. And the number of times that I do that, and I see people that have driven over what the oil change recommendation is, and I guess it's just years of being in this environment and knowing what detriment that does to a vehicle, or what that potentially could cost somebody down the road, is why it gets under my skin so much. From that side of things. But it's I was talking to a guy the other day, and he's like, well, I don't even remember how we worded it, but I've just been going off that engine minder reminder light, and I was like, man, don't do that.
No.
And I really wish the manufacturers wouldn't even put it in there. I know why they do it, but I just wish that they would not put it in there. And it's what's sad to me is that it's a disservice to the customer. That's long term, it's a disservice to the customer, because they're putting those oil minder lights in there because of cost of ownership. If they say, okay, we only have to change oil every 10-12,000 miles, your cost of ownership is going to be lower than if they say, hey, you're going to have to change it every 5,000 miles.
Yeah.
And there's just when you're talking that big a mileage difference, there's so much could happen in between those times, and it's so inexpensive to perform those repairs, and the benefit that it gives you on the long term. So
I'm as equally as frustrated with that as you are. It does. I mean, whenever I have a customer that comes in, and I do the same thing, I check and look at our sticker, and I offer, looks like you're due by your mileage to the service. Well, my oil change indicator says I'm still at 45%. And that's obviously when I explain that this is not it's not what we're going to suggest, obviously. But the other thing is whenever you change the oil every 15,000 miles or whatever, the chances of you having an issue after the vehicle's out of warranty, or just any breakdown of component because you're not servicing it, especially in the change of temperature that Kansas gets, it's another factor to factor in. But yeah, you're not changing the oil as often, so you're saving money there, but potentially the damage that it could be doing later, to where you're making larger repairs, you could have probably avoided.
And the other side of that is the later repairs are on your dime.
Exactly.
Not on a warranty, not by anything.
Right.
So I got a comment on the chat here. It says, from Greg Murray, says the oil life is even on the Ford Pass app. That is correct.
It is.
Yeah, the oil life is on that Ford Pass app as well. And so, and it's not just Ford. In fact, there was a manufacturer here, it's been probably about a year and a half ago, and they got some fairly decent sizable trouble over the oil monitor system, and letting that go too long, and the effects that it was having on their vehicles, for sure. And so again, it's I believe it's misleading. If you're going to buy a car and keep it for the warranty period, for the 3 years or 36,000 miles, or even for powertrain warranty, would it work? Yeah, certainly it would work. Long term, that's not the best thing for the vehicle.
Yeah.
And these vehicles, they'll go. I mean, we're seeing cars coming into the service drive with 200, 250, 300,000.
Had a Transit just the other day that came in. It had 500,000 miles on it.
Yeah. And the vehicles, at that mileage, look like you could hop in them tomorrow and go wherever you want. And so the reliability behind them, and the reliability behind the powertrain components in these things, they'll go as many miles as you want them to go. but you got to help them.
Yep.
And the only way to do that is by servicing the fluids routinely. And that's not just oil. I mean, it's all fluids.
That's correct.
But being able to preventative maintenance is key in getting that vehicle to go where you want it to go as inexpensive as possible.
Yeah. And last thing, and then we can obviously move on, but the last thing I wanted to say about that oil life, a lot of people think that it is somehow testing the quality of your oil. It is not. It is some kind of algorithm determining by mileage and time that manufacturer has set up. It is not testing to see if your oil is good. It is legitimately a timer. And that's why sometimes if it has happened to you, whenever you just get an oil change and about a month and a half later it comes on saying you need to service your vehicle, it is probably because the technician did accidentally forget to reset that message or that light. It does not test the quality of your oil.
Yeah, that is a misconception as well. And so I mean, there's not a way to have that equipment on a vehicle at all. And so it's going over and looking at time and mileage and operating, how long you've driven it in between drive cycles and everything like that. So, well, very cool. Well, hey, 316-462-3673, that's the number. If you want to give us a quick shout here towards the end of the show, but we're getting ready to kind of wind things down, just have a little bit of a recap of what we talked about today. Water.
Avoid water.
Yeah, avoid water for sure is definitely a thing. It's just something. The only outcome is cost.
Yeah, it's going to be expensive.
So. Is definitely the lesson to learn there. So we had our annual Beat the Heat last night at KID. That went very well. In fact, if you're looking for something to do today, they've got a lot of drag racing going on out there again today. I think they were supposed to kick off about 9 o'clock this morning for up there. So if you need something to do, I tell you, there was just the different arrays of cars and everything they had going on out there. It was great. So had a great time out there. So if you need something to do today, head out to Kansas International Dragway and see what they got going on out there. It was a lot of fun. It really was a lot of fun. There was a lot of kids out there, and it just to see some of them cars go down the track, man. There was a couple motorcycles out there.
Oh, nice.
I don't. Those guys are like
crazy.
So. I mean, I kind of want to do it, but then also on the other side of things, it's like, man, they're nuts,
Yeah.
But then I don't know, you see them, a couple more of them run. It's like, I think I could do that. But it's a lot of fun seeing those guys run. And there was a Hayabusa out there, man. It was on it. That thing was mean.
Yeah.
I mean, in third gear, he was still pulling up the front on it, and it was just absolutely phenomenal watching those guys go down that track. So if you're looking for something to do today, head out to Kansas International Dragway. Let's see, we talked about the Lightning, so come take a look at it, come test drive it, and see what it's all about. Let's see, we talked about, and then
get your AC service, get your AC system service. It's going to be hot, so do yourself a favor, don't get in that situation to where it's too hot and you got no AC.
Definitely do that as well. So I think let's thank our sponsors of the show, which is Big Corner Creative. So if you're looking for any type of advertising for your business, social, traditional media, need any wraps, window tinting, anything like that, website designs, Big Corner Creative, or BCC, as they say, just Google us. Then we have BG Products. So all the great preventative maintenance items that we offer right here inside of Mel Hambelton Ford, as well as Go-To Rent. So if you're looking for a larger van, got a lot of summer vacations coming up on my calendar for employees here. I know that. So it's definitely that time of year. So if you're looking for something bigger to go on a summer vacation, give Stan a call right here inside Mel Hambelton Ford. Everybody, Scotty, thanks for joining me.
Thank you very much.
Everybody have a wonderful weekend, and we'll talk to you next Saturday.
All right.